Hey guys, PK here. In this episode, once again, Tyrone Shum from the number one property podcast in Australia. He invited me, sat down me to basically ask how I built a portfolio of more than 10 properties. So in this next 10-20 minutes, I delve into the function of my data methods and I share one of my top tips that you can invest in property unseen, sight unseen, remotely, interstate, completely risk free. As well as this, I explore the importance of taking care of your mental health, which I do by practicing meditation yoga. We discuss my meditation habits and explain basically why I attribute them to actually my success, and how they could be beneficial to you as well. So a little bit of a left field show or episode today. We're going deep into the data to an extent, but also pivoting more towards mindfulness, mindset, but more importantly and more deeply, meditation. It's two things. It's like two banks of the same river: wealth and inner wealth. External wealth is money, inner wealth is peace of mind. I feel that both of them go together really well, and in this episode we'll be going through both of them.
Do you want to achieve wealth and passive income through property investing? PK Gupta, host of Property Investment Mastery, will help you achieve passive income by buying top 5% growth and positive cash flow property and building a portfolio using data without you wasting months of time doing research, spending weekends at inspections, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents each time. So if you are confused and overwhelmed by the amount of contradictory information available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you.
Gupta has built a large portfolio of properties across Australia, and his strategy focuses on following his data methods, even if that means investing in an unseen property.
I think, including me, a lot of people are sometimes fearful of buying sight unseen, but it's kind of like a hidden secret. I don't even know if it's a secret at all, but property managers, like a good property manager, they inspect your properties before you buy as well, completely free of cost. So like one of the properties that I bought at this time, I was living in Brisbane. We bought in Islington in Newcastle. We bought it for $507,000, and I didn't go to visit it. I didn't catch a flight or anything like that. I just called a couple of local property managers and asked if they could inspect it for me, and they said they could. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Well, if you could take a video and shoot it through, then at least that gives me confidence, that the pictures online aren't fake and all that kind of thing. And they did that. And then, of course, you go into the contract and you get the formal building and pest inspection report done. So between the property manager's report and the building and pest inspection report, that built me enough confidence to go ahead and purchase that property. And I mean, if I went in, I'd just look at probably how good the landscaping was or the colors on the walls. I don't really know what to look at. So that was the aha moment. And even though I'd been doing it before then, that property has doubled since that time. And I was just like, I can repeat this. And so for me, it was like, now I can buy anywhere across Australia, just following the data without needing sort of property companies or buyer's agents or anything like that, just relying on local property managers. Of course, there's always good people, bad people. So you need to find good property managers, but that just allows you to leverage and buy outside your backyard, which was kind of the biggest aha moment for me.
When looking for a property to invest in, there are specific data points that Gupta considers.
So even from the first property, East Gosford, we kind of built it's not perfect, but we built a system where we could look at about 30, maybe 35 data factors, things like stock on market percentages, days on market trends, building approval percentages, job advertisement trends, online search interest ratios, etc., etc. And because I was a bit of a nerd, looking at thresholds, coefficients, because not everything's equal in its importance and there's different weightings you need to give to it. But even though it's not got I can't predict, East Gosford will grow by 7.2% or anything like that. It allows us to predict, relatively speaking, how it will perform versus other suburbs. And when you extrapolate that to all 15,000 suburbs, and you start to see the pockets or the suburbs that will outperform in the short term and the long term. So, we can then see the relativities of potential future performance.
Even with all this data, Gupta still lacks important local knowledge. This is when a good property manager becomes crucial.
You sort of couple that, where to buy using data with the kind of know-how of a local property manager. You select the right suburb using data and the right pocket of the suburb using data, and now qualitative factors as well, like, flooding, flight zones, zonings, and other things like that. But when it comes to the actual property, the strategy has always been, hey, Miss or Mr. Property Manager, can you go check it out for me? Obviously, the carrot on the stick for them is that if you buy it, you're going to give them the management for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So they've got a really good incentive structure. They don't want to lie to you because the truth will come out in the next 10, 20 years if something's dodgy. But at the same time, they're working for you, not the seller. So we've always selected the property using data and then had the local expertise of the property manager to say, the property checks out, but hey, there's housing commission right next door. I don't think, this would make a great investment. Or, property checks out, and even though on Google Maps it looks like it's far away from a highway, actually you can still hear the cars going. And so that sort of local knowledge, you don't need to go and have a coffee at the cafe or anything like that. Just that local knowledge, which I think as well, like, property managers are really nice people. So are real estate agents, but property managers are different from real estate agents. They're just there to manage the property. They're not trying to sell you a property. And just that strategy of data plus having that local on-the-ground knowledge allowed me to sort of build a portfolio without really needing anyone else's opinion or expertise or anything like that.
How did Gupta go from using his own data methods to launching his own property investment company?
So like these days, there's data galore, but back when I was figuring out the system, I think I paid like $30,000 for the raw data. We did it in a programming language called R, and it was kind of technical and stuff. But these days, you have so many data sources online. It's very easy. What I teach is not like a magic software where you put in your first and last name and date of birth and it spits out an answer. Like, you still need to understand why it works and the way it works. You still need to pull some levers and things like that. But it's effectively a protocol or methodology by which anyone really can start with knowing nothing about any suburb and let the data speak for itself. Yeah, so like in Australia, as you know, I'm sure you know, Tyrone, there's sort of like, you could say 5 or 6 sort of major data sources like CoreLogic and Pricefinder, Investor, Residex, APM, etc. And they're all great. I mean, they're all great repositories of data, but what I found was you can see a PDF with some bar charts and pie charts, but you can't see whether the data is actually reliable, the statistical reliability of the underlying data. You can't, if you get let's say a PDF document from one of these sources, you can't compare thousands of suburbs or hundreds of suburbs simultaneously, unless you print it up, put it around your wall or something like that. And none of these individual sources have everything you need. So what we do at the moment, to be perfectly honest with you, is I still rely on other people's data. It's not any of these major sources. It's more the raw data that a few sort of niche players provide. You can just download like an Excel file, and that gives you enough to kind of then put it into my system or my methodology. That's what we do at the moment. But going forward, I mean, that's very expensive. The data costs like $1 million a quarter to update. So going forward, the plan is at some point to systemize that in-house. And because I think that's really what's lacking. There's enough information, enough data in the Australian property market. There's not enough systemization or enough insights. So where people can use levers and toggles and a proven sort of method of interpretation that they can do themselves. It's like, just do it yourself. That's really my philosophy.
Gupta believes that when given the right information, anybody can invest in properties.
And I think as well, sometimes people become like really overwhelmed and daunted when you say data. It's like, I don't want to deal with that stuff. Not a numbers person. But it's actually not millions of data points. It's actually not that hard. Like, it's sort of easier said than done, but this is not rocket science. I see so many people who are like, I don't know, like accountants and engineers or electricians and or what have you, or nurses, and they think they can't invest in property themselves. But this is nothing like doing the degrees or the courses that they've done to become their own professions, right? It's property investing is not that difficult. You just got to see through the weeds, see the forest from the trees, so to speak.
Alongside hard work, Gupta believes that luck also has its place.
Like, I'm a big believer in karma and all these types of things. I'm a little bit airy-fairy like that. But I mean, luck has its place. Luck definitely has its place. Call it karma, call it luck. But things that are out of your control, providence, they have such a big role to play. For example, if my father didn't make the decision to move to New Zealand, would I have a property portfolio right now? Maybe, maybe not. Like, it's hard to say. All these things have to line up. But I think the main thing is, seeing what you have, making the most of it, and sort of making your own luck. Like, if you keep jumping for opportunities, one day you're going to like hook in and grab one of them, and that's going to take you even higher. So I think skill is probably there, or hard work is there, but it's the combination of both, luck and skill.
Everybody has their own reason for investing in property. Gupta's why was to live his life without any restrictions.
I mean, the why that for my wife and I initially, like when we were working those crazy hours, she was a chartered accountant, so she was also working crazy hours at a firm called KPMG. Our why back then was really kind of cliched. We don't want to work these crazy hours. We want to be able to reduce our hours and sort of do what we want. I can go off on a rant on this, Tyrone, but like, since the Industrial Revolution, people have lost their freedom. We kind of, in some respects, just become numbers, part of the cog, part of the machine. So, we just didn't really want to be part of that after actually experiencing what it was like to be part of that. And everyone's different, so different strokes for different folks. But I think right now, or especially over the last 5 years, the why has been like, we're massive meditation and spiritual buffs. So my wife as well, she's a mum, but she also finds time to meditate for 2 hours every day, not at the same time as me, otherwise my son would go wild. But like we had a meditation center in Brisbane before COVID sort of shut everything down. But our why is really to allow the kind of money or finance bit to take care of itself, and then we can just focus more on meditation, on mindfulness, on spirituality, and just taking these principles, the principles of service, the principles of, sort of elevation of consciousness to each other and to everyone else, whoever's interested. So whether it's online or in our meditation studio, it's a little bit left field, but that's kind of why we exist.
Gupta is a firm believer of taking care of your mental health and attributes his success to the practice of mindfulness, meditation, and yoga.
So, like, we just found that mental health, I mean, it's a common thing these days to talk about mental health, as it should be, but oftentimes in sort of corporate circles, it's not as personalized as it could. Companies have like a mental health agenda and they talk about it, but still people don't talk up when they actually face issues. So, prevention is the best medicine. And so this meditation studio, it was called the Conscious Collective. The whole idea was to sort of make meditation, mindfulness, mental health, like just cool, like fun and just relax. So we would do things like art therapy, we would do guided visualization sessions, we would do different types of yoga, we'd do pranayama, which is a type of breathing exercise, mostly from sort of Chinese origins, Indian origins, sort of Eastern type stuff. And yeah, I mean, when pre-COVID times, we used to get like 50 people to each event. And, like, everyone just has a big smile on their face and they talk with each other. And it's not like, oh, how are you going? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah. Oh, today's Sunday. Oh, I have to go work tomorrow. It's not that. It's like, it's stuff that actually matters. Like, what are you most grateful for? What's your purpose in life? What is it that you would regret not doing in 60 years or in 20 years? And should we do that now? How can we make that happen? So it's kind of like this intersect between mindfulness and mind and meditation, but also just, like self-development, like in action, and building a community that helps each other was really the focus for us.
Looking into the future, Gupta is excited for his next adventure of living and opening a yoga studio in the US.
I think the most exciting thing, maybe like even not from a property perspective, is we're hoping, we're praying that once this COVID thing finishes, we're going to move overseas to the US, and we're going to start a much bigger sort of meditation, yoga studio, hopefully on the West Coast. That's kind of my wife and my dream. Bring up our son over there, maybe spend some time back in Australia as well, but really, kind of tap into that culture over there, that sort of meditation culture. That's kind of our why for the next 5 years. We just have lots of friends there. We have lots of people we know there. I don't know. I mean, my wife is from London. Like she was born in London, Indian origin as well. So, in a sort of comfortable sort of English-speaking place, you either have Canada, England, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand kind of thing. I mean, just generalizing. So we both have lived in London. I've lived in New Zealand, obviously Australia, South Africa, not sold on, just fully. So North America was kind of the area we haven't done.
Coming back to property investment, Gupta's motivation and inspiration comes from a variety of places.
I mean, I'd love to say, because I think it's so important to have a mentor, but honestly speaking, I didn't have a mentor. I had lots and lots of snippets of advice from, really good people that are experts in their own field. So I think I would have gone through about 3 or 4 mortgage brokers, and each of them had their own strengths. I've gone through about 4 or 5 conveyancers, and they all have their individual strengths. Same with property managers. I have 9 property managers right now. Like everyone has something to offer. So there wasn't sort of like one-stop shop sort of person. But I think what really inspires me are just entrepreneurs in general. Like, not that they have to be successful and well off or anything like that, but even new entrepreneurs, people who, not that I'm advocating this, but people who really want to do something different, want to do something that vibes or aligns with what they want to do in life, and they have the courage to actually make those steps and do that. That stories that I hear of people, quitting their 9 to 5 and now, comfortably living on $90,000 per year, with their family, which isn't millions of dollars, but it's enough to get by, and they're doing what they love. Actually having the courage to do that, that's kind of the stories from this podcast and other people that I know that have really kept me going. I think, courage. People who show courage is probably the thing that inspires me the most. There's that saying which can be kind of used a little bit whimsically, but some people who have nothing actually have everything, and some people who have everything actually have nothing at all. So it's easy to say from a place where, we live in Australia, we're not in poverty. It's easy to say from our sort of privileged position, but I genuinely believe it.
Over his time investing in property, Gupta has learned many lessons. He considers your network is your net worth to be the most valuable.
Once again, it's a kind of a popular saying, but really you can't get ahead in life, whether it's spiritually or financially or, career-wise or anything, unless you actually network, unless you meet people, unless you make friends and make acquaintances. I mean, just like this, I've been listening to your podcast for so long, and I've received so much immense benefit. It's almost like I've networked with all those people because I know their stories and I can see what works, what doesn't work, what's possible. So these days with the internet, just, consume a lot of information, but follow stories, follow people's stories, not just their advice, but what people have actually done. All right, guys, my name's PK. Hopefully this has added value, guys, and I wish you all the very best.